I mean, it kind of evolved over time, but we're thinking if we want to have something where materials are used and materials impact the physical properties in the world, then it means the game has to be physics based, and it needs to be in such a way that materials affect the outcome. And basically, the first thing that comes to mind is a physics based sandbox, because you can build stuff from smaller pieces, and those smaller pieces can have different materials that affect how they behave. So it was like an obvious thing to go for.
Okay, seems like a fair answer.
Yeah.
And that's basically what I was expecting. Like if you introduce elements like
Yeah.
actually you talked about the copper specifically. Like I mean those
Mhm.
kinds of things really ask for like a simulator type thing, and that obviously if you're coming from a physics background, you're probably very interested in engineering yourself. So
Mhm.
that just calls for developing
Yeah.
something like this where you can build machines like that.
Exactly.
It's actually very intuitive, the system. Let me just say this. When I tried the demo, it's very intuitive the way that the pieces work. You probably have a lot more now than you had back then. But I'm sure like
Yes.
you made it all fit together, and it's very intuitive. Like you don't need to explain. Okay, the wheel does this, and it's controlled like this, and blah blah blah. Like basically, you see, okay, this is a wheel. It attaches here to this hinge, and then it turns like
Mhm.
this. It's very like intuitive, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I'm happy to share screen and
Yeah, go
show
ahead.
parts of how things work. Uh. Mhm. Do you see my screen?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna play the game through the editor and go to the sandbox. Oops. Okay. Unfortunately, this is broken. Uh, let's see if I
As
can.
usual during the
Yeah.
presentation, on the spot, everything goes wrong.
The thing is, we're constantly making changes, and like as we program them,
Yeah.
a lot of things are out of place. So I think the guys are working on something. Okay, so this is the Foundry, basically. This is the place where you can mix different materials. So let me do a little cheat here. Okay, now I have three elements. So copper, tin, and iron. And I can drop them here. So I'll just use my example of 80% copper, sorry, 8% iron and 1% and 20% copper. When I do this, I get the properties. So this is the tensile strength and this is the density. Now, these are instantly generated by the deep learning model, which is working on the backend. Uh, and if I change these values, those change. So I can kind of experiment with all these elements that I'm working with. And when I'm happy with what I have, I can just name it something. So let's name it Carlos.
I'm very
And
honored
then
to have a piece named that after myself. So thank you.
yeah. And I create this. So I have 10 Carlos now because I had like 7 iron, 3 copper. And I just collected. It comes into the alloys I have. Then I can walk up here. Uh, so I can start building something. And I can select on this and go to the alloys I've made. So Carlos is here now. And I can select this. I think the select button doesn't work. So if I select it, it's not applied. Yeah, so it's still buggy, but I can put it in favorite materials. And when I come back, it's here. So I apply Carlos, and now
Okay.
this cube has the Carlos property, which is like stronger than the default material, and it's also heavier. Uh, yeah, so this is like the idea behind it, and these parts react on how you basically impact the force on them. Uh, so like if I try to fight the enemies, so let me just do a quick example here. Uh, Let me build something really quickly. So let's put a driver seat here. Steering joint, another cube, maybe another engine here, and put some wheels.
More engines means more power, and that's always good. I like to go fast.
Yes, absolutely. I can also put a little weapon here. So there's a cannon, and I can put a qual on it. Oh, this is buggy. Okay,
Maybe,
the qual
maybe not.
is not working. That's fine. Okay, it's okay. I can still show this to you. So I can get on this, and I can go kill some minions. Okay. This is also a bug, which is a work in progress.
It's all
But the
under
idea is,
development, guys. All under
yeah,
development.
exactly. So someone has turned ray tracing on, sorry, the line tracing, and they have forgotten to turn it off. And these guys are not shooting at the moment. But the idea is basically when they shoot at me, the machine turns into pieces because of the impact. I can actually show it on a build we have.
And
I think that would
it
be a
would
better one.
destroy like more. It would be harder to destroy depending on the material
Yeah,
that you.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have a better material, it's easier to destroy it.
Yeah.
Sorry, if you have a better material, it's usually harder. Like depending on the strength.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I can show this on a package build we have, but for the interest of time, let's go through other questions and I can come back to it later.
Oh yeah, I was actually gonna ask like for this build, for this new, like I assume you've showed this to other people. What are some comments that you usually get from this new version compared to what you had, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago?
Sure. Actually, we haven't shown this to anyone yet,
Oh, it's
so
the first time
you guys
too.
are the first people seeing
Okay,
this.
that's very honoring, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't shown. We only kind of packaged the game last week.
Oh, okay. So, but people do people usually ask the same say the same things that I said, like about the building, like it's easy to understand and stuff like that, or do they have like any?
Yeah. So this is
particular?
something we had in mind from the design point of view. We wanted it to be accessible to players who are not really into Sandbox, or for people who want an easier path to play Sandbox games. So if you have played Besiege, for example, it's very complicated. Like there's so many things you want to do, you can do in Besiege. Whereas we wanted this to be simpler, not have all of that kind of complications. So that's like the way we've positioned the game, like keeping it simple, not too hard.
Okay.
To
And
get into.
are there like any specific comments that stuck with you, like that you got from the other versions that people got to play? Is there something specific that stood out from the rest of the comments?
On this new build or the old
No,
build?
the older build. Like, did
Oh,
people point out anything specific that maybe you overlooked or something like that?
yes. So there were a lot of comments. So, for example, the physics was very unstable. So we got a lot of comments on that. People wanted to see more in the narrative. So if you remember, the old demo lacked anything, like lacked any story. People want to see more of that. We got some comments on the way the characters were modeled. So like they wanted the characters not to be low poly and be more crisp in design, and that was a fair comment. We had that in mind anyways. So yeah.
Yeah, I noticed
We
that.
got
Like
a lot of good comments.
I noticed that just bridging to the art, like you mentioned, you actually invested in getting some people into the studio to take care of the art, both in game and like promotional stuff for this team. And I saw some kind of animated images, like with different layers. I think in Blender they even showed how you made it. What like you invested in many people, specifically artists. How is that like changing the subject a little bit? How is that like to hire people specifically in the UK, which is where you're based?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
hard or easy was it? Like how does the process work to expand your studio in the UK?
Sure. So a lot of the people who so after COVID, there was this scheme in the UK where the government was paying to companies to hire young people in the age range of 16 to 24. And I, being an opportunist, grabbed this and I hired 5 really brilliant people through the scheme. So I've not been paying any money myself. The government has been paying them, and these guys have been really awesome. Uh, I think the main challenge with bringing new people to the team is really finding the one who's very talented and fits the culture of the company, and someone who can work really well with the rest of the team. I think that's really the key thing. In general, I would say hiring is a very difficult process, but it's also the most important thing in a business because eventually it's the team who builds the product.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with that. Did you have like any type of, um, let's say, when you get someone new on the team, did you have some, I don't know, program, let's say, to get them accustomed to the way the team was working already? Like, did you do some team building events, let's say? Even with COVID, I mean, that's probably harder, but did
Yeah.
you do anything like that?
So our team works remotely, but we do meet about once every month. It's like as a social event kind of thing. Uh, but yeah, I think that this is like the best we could have done so far. Uh, we also constantly work on Discord, so we have like a team Discord,
Yeah.
and we do have very regular meetings, like weekly meetings where everyone joins,
Oh, okay.
and we do have some time like just chatting,
Playing games, probably.
not we used to play games, but because of this new deadline, we kind of didn't get a chance to play games.
All right.
Uh, but yeah, like that's the kind of things we do. But I really see the importance of meeting in person. It makes a huge difference, and I think I really miss that. That's really the upside of working together
Yeah.
in a physical space. But at the same time, like if you want to constrain yourself to one place, then you don't get to hire all these amazing people from
Yeah, that's
other
true. That's
places.
true.
So it's a trade-off.
Yeah. And do you feel there's like any particular, um, let's say, strengths and weaknesses of your team and the way you work, like working from